What is going on, everybody? We are back once again with another edition of Wrestling Republic's daily broadcast. It is Thursday, June 13th, Throwback Thursday. I'm Clark Taylor. I'm stoked to get into it. We had Dynamite last night. We have a sweet throwback topic as always. I've got the same crew as usual. Let me introduce them real quick. Send this one out to Philadelphia. Head of Opinions, Anthony Ricciardi. What's going on this Thursday, Anthony?
Doing all right. It's been a long week, like it seems to be every week. We have Dynamite to cover and a fun throwback topic that may be a little controversial for people, based on the history of ECW. So it should be a fun topic to cover.
It is a funny topic, no question about it, because it is a funky event that we had, but it's also an iconic one that we all remember. So I can't wait to get into that one. But before we do, it's not Tuesday night, it's Thursday night, just 2 days later. But get the twos up out in the DMV. Shoddy back at it once again. How are you, Shad?
Throw them deuces up in the sky. I am back again. Yes, y'all see me a lot this week, and you will see me a couple more times this week before the week ends. But I'm good, man. Shad Talks Graps on Instagram, OCDMV703 on X. If you're not following me, you might as well just cry in a corner somewhere. I don't know. I don't know what I got for y'all today.
Don't do anything else if you're not following him. Follow him first, then continue watching the show. That cracks me up, Shad. That's hilarious. No worries, though. Let's get right into this Thursday show because huge announcement last night. Matthew and Nicholas let us know one of the most violent matches. War games, but not war games. Blood and guts coming up in a month. I'm excited about it. I've always enjoyed the concept, so it is what it is. I understand that it's gonna always be overbooked if you're doing a blood and guts or a war games, but I like to see it, and I want to see how they fill out the 5-on-5 situation, and I want to see what they can come up with here. I love Swerve's involvement in this, all of it. Who do you see face to face at Blood and Guts for sure, Anthony, headed into next month?
That's going to be the interesting thing, because when they did Stadium Stampede, I never felt like it was true Team AEW. I mean, there were pieces of it that, yeah, you're like, okay, Darby's true Team AEW. Danielson, you can kind of say maybe. I mean, he is a former WWE guy, but it'll be interesting what happens here, because I don't think Omega will be cleared. I mean, I don't know. I mean, Omega would be somebody that you would want. Hangman's always floating. I'm just curious if we're going to see a real Team AEW against the Elite, or another bits and pieces team made up of random people like the Acclaimed and Swerve. And I'm like, I know Acclaimed are AEW guys, and Swerve is the champ, but when you're thinking of the heart and soul of AEW, Moxley, I think of Darby, I think of MJF, I think of Omega, I think of Hangman, I think of those people before I would think of the others. If it's not a core group, if it's not those people, it's probably gonna be another Team Elite win. Honestly, I think part of the problem I have with this, and I love the blood and guts, I love the matches. I think they're overbooking in the sense where Tony Khan announces Christopher Daniels is the GM, essentially, or the V. Why? We know Tony Khan's backstage. Like, what? He owns the company. Why are the Bucks having free reign of the company when the owner's there? It makes sense if Tony's not there. So now you have four people that can make decisions, and the one person that could overrule all of them doesn't do anything about it. It's very weird. I don't feel it has the stakes that it should have. It should have stakes of the control of the company. Like, it should have something of significance, because if it's just Team Elite against a random team of Team AEW, it's not going to hold much of an interest for me, because I want story. I want something that's compelling. Right now, it's not there. They had it at one point, and then it just kind of fell apart. The other thing is, it's a small issue I have. I know it doesn't affect people watching it on Fight or International. I hate when they do blood and guts and they do the picture-in-picture commercial breaks. If you're going to air that match and it's not on a pay-per-view, make a deal so that it's commercial free for everybody, not just the people watching on Fight.
I think that's a totally fair request. 100% when it comes to the commercial free thing. I think that's something we've kind of needed for a long time when it comes to blood and guts. And it does devalue the match in some ways. Especially considering how spread out the action is with 10 people.
When they did one of them, I think it might have been the first one. Like they came back from the commercial break. The announcer had to explain how somebody got busted open, how the cage door got open. You shouldn't have to explain that.
No, you shouldn't.
That takes the audience away from the match.
And I mean, for what it is, I actually think maybe the best booked one was the one that ended with the unfortunate. You could see the padding pull up when Jericho hit that spot. But everything else about that match was really well booked. And well covered.
That was the same one with that they had to explain how the door worked.
Yes. But at the same time, the irony to your point is it is to me the best one. And I love these. I do actually love I mentioned this on NXT Tuesday night on Off the Air. I love Spring Break and I love those where it makes a weekly show feel more special.
Yeah.
And so I do believe there is a time and place for blood and guts. But to your point, Anthony, a commercial-free version of the match is definitely the route I would take. I also agree with building the opposing team. I'm super interested in that. Shad, I want to get your take on all of this. What do you think about the potential opposing team to the Elite? Who they're going to be, and what the point is storyline-wise. Yeah, go right ahead.
Yeah, no, for sure. My bad. I didn't mean to cut you off as soon as you was done the question. Before I get to that, to your point, I definitely agree with you because, on the contrary to what like WWE does, where they're fortunate to have pay-per-views on a monthly basis, where it's more formulaic, where you can kind of create storylines and then you get to the pay-per-view. So everything leads to the pay-per-view. It's kind of like in quarterly sections in a way where AEW doesn't have as many pay-per-views. They have literally just quarterly pay-per-views. They have 5 throughout the entire year, which is
it's
a
now
lot
up
less.
to 5 or 6, but still it was 4
But
for
prior
stretch.
to it was prior to it was 4, so it was like one every season. Where it was cool that they did have special dynamites like a Blood and Guts, like a Fire Fest or whatever it may be. Like they would do stuff in that manner, and Blood and Guts has become one of their staple shows. So I'm excited for it. I love those chaotic matches. I love War Games a lot as well, and just pure entertainment of it is gonna intrigue me to want to watch it, especially when we kind of already have one set team in the Elite that has 4 guys that are phenomenal professional wrestlers and people that the Bucks who've done this before and whatnot. To your question, who are they gonna go against in the storyline? It would make me believe that it'll go against Swerve and possibly the Acclaimed, but it's just the fact that they said the best of AEW, and no knock on the Acclaimed, they're not one of the best in AEW at the moment. They haven't been booked to be one of the best, and I think next week they have a match with the Bucks. I think that's gonna kind of just eliminate them from the whole manner of them being in the potential Blood and Guts match. So I don't see the Acclaim and Billy Gunn being in it. I think Swerve is gonna be in it.
Yeah.
Swerve is the world champion. They have had a lot of interactions with Swerve. Swerve is against them. He has a certain issue, and that's kind of the nucleus of the storyline for it to be. I think what should be the case is Swerve wins at the pay-per-view at Forbidden Door, and I think his team needs to assemble of guys who are against him, who want his, your common enemy is gonna also be your ally in a sense. A Will Ospreay, a Hangman Adam Page, a MJF, guys like that. Those would be the first three I would take off the docket. You know, if he was healthy, maybe a Keith Lee. Like guys that have, the bullseye on Swerve, but they also don't like the Elite. And they're going to work with Swerve, but after it's done, they're going to want to have to shoot the fair one with Swerve so they can get the title opportunity. I would, if I had to name it, I think it would be Swerve, Moxley, Danielson, MJF, and Ospreay, because I think that would be the correct representation, the best of AEW off of just pure wrestlers that are not tied to the Elite. And if that's the case, you have yourself one of the most jam-packed super matches that you can create in that setting. But it would be good. Like that's something that can, focus and move storylines after that, because you don't know what MJF is gonna do. He could be the mole. He could possibly, screw over Swerve and them and help the Elite to work within himself. Or it could be vice versa. Maybe they all beat the Elite and it's one of this big Avengers moment. I think that would be intriguing to me. So if I was to pick those five, it would be those. That would be my five against the Elite. The other thing is this: I'm curious to see, because they have four at the moment, right? It's Perry, Okada, and the Bucks. They need one more. I'm curious to see who that fifth is gonna be, because in some way, somehow, if we can get a situation where it is MJF against Swerve, what about the fifth being Adam Cole if he's healthy? What if that happened?
Ooh.
Cole and the Elite versus MJF and the other guys. I think that would be amazing. I'm literally just spitballing ideas, but if I could make it happen, it would be that.
I would be fascinated by that. That would be absolutely outstanding. I love that idea, Shad. It'd be hysterical. Because it would just be like the ultimate. I mean, they're buddies. We know they're buddies anyway. They're already friends. I think it makes a ton of sense. No, I will say really quickly before we move on to our next subject, it's Throwback Thursday, and I got a question for both you guys here. Why is it that anytime there's multiple rings, I get nostalgic and excited, even if the booking's not that great? Like, is there something wrong with me in that sense? Like, it's like, wait a minute, there's more than one ring. It's so simplistic and so silly.
It is hysterical, because the two that come to mind, obviously, War Games is the obvious one.
Yes.
The other one is World War III, the 3-ring battle royal that WCW used to do.
Yeah.
That's the other one that I think of when you're talking of multiple rings.
Yeah, I mean, the World War III, or what did they call it? It was World War III.
World War
right?
III, that's what it was.
It was their version of, which was hilarious to me, because they basically did a knockoff Royal Rumble with multiple rings, and then they brought everybody out at first and took the best part about the Rumble out of it, and only did entrances for like
they
5 of the competitors.
If I remember correctly, wasn't it 20 people in each ring, and then
60? It was a 60-man battle royal, which is crazy.
So it was 20 in each ring, and then the final 2, I think, didn't they wrestle? Like, it wasn't over the top rope at that point, wasn't it? Didn't it turn into a match?
The end was a pinfall, but the funniest was for one of them, I can't remember which one, but the rings fill with everybody, the match starts, and then it's like the whole wolf pack came out next. And it's like, wait, why did they get a head start? They got to wait until like 5 people were eliminated to enter the match. Nobody else did. It made
was that the same year that, like, because I think Nash won that. That's how he got his match.
I believe
with
Nash
right?
won that one,
Stargate. Yeah,
it was Kevin Nash.
Yeah.
Classic stuff. Either way, speaking of classic stuff, Dustin Rhodes, an absolute classic last night. Not a natural match, but he's the natural, and he is a classic
wrestler, man.
Wrestler. That's what I mean by that. Exactly.
Amazing, bro.
Looked great though against Jack Perry. Does take the loss in the end. Jack Perry, man, heck of a heel at this point. I did not necessarily see that coming. That wasn't exactly on my bingo card, but it's starting to work. I'm starting to get it, and I'm starting to like it, which is even weirder and funnier to think about now. Like, I'm past the footage, and I'm just like, this guy's a bad guy. It's great. I thought the match was solid. He's in that TNT title ladder match now, which I love always ladder matches like that. That one's going to be fun. Anthony, your thoughts on all of it, and how many more of these are we going to get from Dustin Rhodes? Man, he's getting up there.
The grandson of a plumber is really he's kind of found his fountain of youth. Like he's able to pull out these matches, and really his position right now is to get younger talent over, and he is one of the best at that. Before I get into the match, the one thing that I did not care for is him and Swerve passing each other on the ramp. Like, oh, the old buddies, you go get him. Didn't you smash him with a cinder block like a couple months ago? And now all of a sudden you're his buddy? Like, I thought that was a little... I get Swerve's a face now, but I don't know. I don't know how forgiving somebody would be if they got smashed with a cinder block. Call me crazy. I don't think I'd just be, hey, bud. Maybe that's me.
I do understand where you're coming from, but it does seem like they have like a personal friendship outside of the ring, and so that's the only thing.
I got it, but from consistency standpoint, I'm just saying, and I would say that no matter what company it is, but Jack Perry, they're trying to get behind. They want to try to build him up as this hateable heel, and to beat up a future Hall of Famer, one of the best to ever do it, is a smart move, and Dustin knows how to get people over. That to the point where they look better than they actually are. He's very old school, second generation. He knows what he's doing. So I don't know how much more we're going to see from Dustin, but each time he's out there, he doesn't look bad. Like, I don't get the impression when I watch Dustin out there the same way that I get when I look at Jericho, for example. Because Jericho, I'm like, all right, the hands of time are bouncing against you. Dustin, you know that the hands are pressing against, but Dustin is really good at covering that up and looking really good out there. Like, he doesn't look out of place, if that makes sense. Like, I don't think he looks out of place here. You know he's going to lose. We get that. But at the same point, he puts on a competitive match, and like I said, it was a solid opener. In my opinion, which AEW does have a pretty good track record of having solid openers. And I think this was another one.
Definitely. I thought for an opening match, it was well done. It's one of those things where, like, and speaking of, we're going to get into next week's opening match here out of our ad read for sure. But like, to your point, they do a great job with openers. And it's interesting to me that it's been something that's been complained about, like the start of the show at times, but we all kind of consistently at the end are like, well, usually they do deliver.
The openers,
so it's weird. They've done a heck of a job, I think, at the famous curtain jerker, right? Like they've got that part of the recipe kind of figured out. We all look forward to it in a way that's unique to other wrestling shows. We got to get something right on that second hour.
For me, I think the opener, they're usually pretty good. The closer, it's more 50-50. The middle of the show for me, most weeks, is a bear to get through.
It's the tough part. Yeah, it's that 9 o'clock hour. It gets a little. It's kind of like they're little.
Well,
and they're throwing stuff at the wall and they're trying to see what sticks. Sometimes they'll find, like yesterday's episode. There was some stuff towards the first hour. There was some good matches that they had but then they also sprinkled a lot of like stuff that we're not even talking like the
best friends
Daniel
nonsense?
Garcia, Daniel Garcia and Nick Camarado match. I don't know why we needed that really. I don't know. I know that they alluded to both of them guys watching them on TV. Maybe that's to make us believe that Garcia is gonna be a threat to somebody, but it was a whole bunch of nothing. And then, like the best friends and Callus segment after it, a lot happened with it, but I didn't mind it a little. I mean, I appreciated Statlander being in it with Willow, but I mean, it definitely, they can allocate and do stuff, tweak some stuff to make the show flow better.
And it is interesting, like the WWE going into the top of the hour, even on Raw, generally has one of their stronger segments. I think
Yes.
that's where the WWE is at their peak. And so it is kind of funky.
And
as
if you
Oh
far
no, I
as
feel like
the-
I feel like Raw has like darn near the same thing too.
if
It's that
Well,
middle. Like I don't think wrestling shows know how to book that middle. And
I
the Raw
think
has an extra hour too, so that
I think the
doesn't
second
help them.
hour is Raw's issue. That first hour though, that
Yeah,
8:50.
but that's what
the,
it's. If we're, I know the time, like the times are different because it's 1 is 3 and 1 is 2. But like that's the thing that comes right before the main event
The bridge
is
segment.
a
no,
lot, that bridge, right? It's a lot of filler on both shows.
the carryover for the top of the hour, I think a lot of the, when you're saying about WWE doing stuff at the top of the hour, a lot of that's a carryover from the Monday Night Raw, Monday Night era, because it was done to prevent you from changing the channel to the other show. A lot of that's a carryover from that.
Absolutely. That's very true. And I mean, it's one of those things though. Obviously, everything can't be,
Oh,
5
yeah.
stars in the most entertaining segment,
Mhm.
but it is like when you start noticing patterns, it's definitely something to think about. Speaking of things to think about, let's talk about our partners over at Next Level. If you're looking for more wrestling content, go check out this app. It's awesome. We're on there. The wrestling community is absolutely thriving, and it's all of our links in one place. You can find all the content you've ever wanted, binge watch for hours. Like it's Netflix. Go to nxconnect.me/Wrestling Republic to see all of our content across all platforms, linked all in one place. That's at Next Level. Check them out. No gimmicks, absolutely nothing. And we got new giveaways coming up soon. Keep your eyes peeled for an announcement when it comes to the giveaways, because we sent a couple of people to Mania with the VIP stuff, giving away tons of money to WWE shop, all kinds of cool stuff. Check it out. Either way, though, speaking of things to check out, let's talk about this MJF and Roosh brawl. Anthony C. I did not mess it up on the teleprompter. MJF and Roosh brawling and opening next week's show. You heard it here first. Commercial free.
I won't have to worry about commercials at all because I will be there live to watch
And
that.
Shoddy will be in the building for this opener. I was excited about the brawl last night. I'm more excited about the match than I anticipated. And I do love the idea of commercial free heading out of this, especially considering those NBA finals look like they might be over by next Wednesday. Pop a little bit of a number after a quality segment here. I don't know. What do you think about it, Shad?
Yeah, I think that is logistically what they are doing. I'm not one that cares about the numbers on viewership too much. I know a lot of people tend to, go back and forth with that. AEW has a pretty strong partnership with TBS and TNT, the Turner Television, and they're gonna need them more than ever because they don't have Chuck, Shaq, and all them with the NBA team anymore. They lost the NBA deal, so they are gonna need AEW. So I don't. They're gonna be on television for the long future. So y'all stop tripping about that. Anyways, regarding this little feud, I think it is one of these feuds that is to kind of get MJF acclimated back in to wrestling, and I think Roosh is a solid first opponent. I'm glad that this is a high marquee television match. I'm definitely excited to see it live. Because one, we're getting Max back. We haven't had him for a little while. There was a little bit of rivalry with them. Roosh wanted to call him out. They had their backstage promo last week with MJF cutting on him last week, and then we got this little brawl last night. And I think it's one of those things where it is gonna be, it's a nice little build, quick feud, and I'm curious to see where Max is on his health wise and how he does in this match because I feel like they're gonna give this match a lot of time. When you set the tone and you say that this is gonna be zero ads, it makes me feel like they're gonna get these guys a lot of time, and that has me excited as a fan because I am gonna get to see it live. But just to kind of get an idea of where do we go from here because MJF is so marquee of a name that I don't know how long we can have him not in the main event picture, but I don't know if you want to put him there just yet because you do have your champion in Swerve, and then potentially you may have a future champion with an Osprey, and I don't know if Max is because Max is that damn good where he can kind of
Yeah.
make you look at him and see what he does on the mic, and then obviously in the ring. Because I think one of the criticisms about MJF is that he's so good as a character and he's so good as a talker. We highly forget he's a very good professional wrestler, and he wrestles a style of wrestling that I like a lot because it's very reminiscent of like a lot of superstars we enjoyed watching in our childhood, right? Like he's like a very like NJF is a throwback wrestler in the
He is.
modern era, and that's why people like him so much. He's captivating because he brings you back to the reminiscence of what you enjoyed watching as a kid, but it's in a modern day version. And he's a great in ring worker. I think him and Roosh are gonna have a hard hitting bout. Roosh is a solid in ring competitor
Can
as well.
go.
He could go. My issues with Roosh are never in regards to the in ring stuff. It's more so I don't know if they've I don't think they have found an identity of how to present him. Because what I truthfully think is I think they saw the Andrade like Andrade's character was so fly. He came in with the suit. He was kind of a boss don El Jefe esque, and then he got hurt, and then he wanted to go back to WWE. They basically gave his gimmick to Roosh. I don't think that fits Roosh. I think Roosh's gimmick is the bull, the angry guy, the I'm a ticking time bomb, and if I see red, I'm a get on you. I'm a beat
Yeah.
you down. That's what, and I think they need to find something for him. They need to make whether it be him with another person as a manager or whatnot, or just displaying like that because I think he has more shelf life when you do that. When you're because that's what makes this whole thing exciting. Him having a squash, and then him obviously getting an altercation with MJF. That's what has me excited. So I hope this is like helping him get in the right footing as a character
I, I,
forward.
I agree, and it's interesting because Roosh, we complain a lot about AEW wrestlers not getting time. Roosh
Yeah,
has
he
dang
gets a
sure
lot of
gotten
time.
time,
He gets a lot
but
of time. No,
like you said, I don't think they've gotten. I agree with you. The sees
mhm.
red, the bull and the matador. That's who he's got to be.
You know, this is gonna be a crazy parallel because they're nothing alike. But to me, Roosh is kind of like carrying Cross on AEW to
Yes.
WWE. I
Yep.
think they have a lot of confidence in him, and they see a lot of potential and star power in him. But it hasn't, mirrored that to us as the fans on TV. And they're gonna keep giving him a shelf life because like Tony really likes Roosh, Hunter really likes Cross, and he's gonna try to position them in the best thing. It's really just on them to make it work at this point. Like the TV time is not a problem. He gets booked a lot on all two shows on the week,
Uh,
including Rampage 2, which is
it's
three.
true. He has plenty of in ring time. Let's talk about speaking of in ring stuff. Let's talk about Mercedes and Zuchis from CMLL. Mercedes Monet can seriously go. TBS
In the ankles.
championship defended. She retains, but Zuchis look great in the ring. She can go. Speaking
I'm
of,
a, I'm
I
I'm a fan.
really
I'm a
thought
fan
this
now.
match was. I am a new fan, and I enjoyed the match. Anthony, did you have the same sentiments? And I mean, you got to have title defenses to establish that title. I think that's what established it in the first place with Jade. So to get one on the docket that matters and it's Forbidden Door related, I actually really liked this compared to some of the other booking we've had on AEW of late.
Yeah, I mean, it was done for that exact reason, the Forbidden Door. Like I said last week, uh, it's the hardest pay per view for them to sell. Just as a whole, because there's a portion of the audience that doesn't know who any of these people are. I wish they would have done I wish they would have done a promo on Monet's opponent. If they did, I completely missed it. I feel like those promos help to explain who this person is. I mean, they showed her opponent obviously a Forbidden Door, and they showed it again last night, which is smart move. I think it was a nice showcase for her opponent, and it was a solid little match. But you knew there was no way Monet was losing. But it was a solid little match to just kind of build anticipation to the eventual Forbidden Door match. But like I said, as a whole, I don't think you missed much. I mean, as a whole, because it wasn't presented, in my opinion, even though it was a title match, it was not presented as a big deal. I don't feel like wasn't much build to it. It was just like, here you go. Well, why is she getting a title shot? Well, she's from CMLL, the same place that Monet's opponent at Forbidden Door is. Like, you need to provide some explanation of why this person's getting a match. At least have her challenger in the back. Something. You're just booking it and you're going, why? Just as an audience member, I'm like, why is this person battling for the title? The same way, was it last week that Roddy got a match with Swerve? Why? Because he demanded one, but yet his opponent, that Swerve's opponent at Forbidden Door, who beat Roddy at the last pay-per-view, had to win his shot. Roddy just had to demand it. Like, you need to provide some explanation. That's all I ask for from AEW. Just consistency. Make things make sense. That's all I ask.
Yeah, I hear you on make things make sense. I don't know. I didn't. Yeah, it is a difficult one for sure.
I definitely hear that. The only defense I would give for Mercedes compared to Swerve, because I thought the reason why Roddy got the title versus Shot versus Swerve was asinine. I hated everything about that backstage interaction. But for Mercedes' case, this is the television title, so it is a title you wrestle weekly on TV, and I think it is the one thing I wish they did do. And I know, shout outs to David. He let me know because I didn't know who she was before. He said, "Oh, this is," and they did mention it too. This was
Yes,
Stephanie Vakir's tag team partner. So
right.
they did mention that. They could have maybe put in a promo package, but I mean, Mercedes ain't missed a step in ring wise though. I feel like she's
No,
been in her bag these last
as
three
the kids would
matches,
say.
as the kids would say.
100%. Yeah, no,
God.
she has been in her bag. Speaking of in bags,
Oh, thank God. I don't have to cover this.
TV time
Hi
with
guys.
Private Party. Okay, honestly,
Shots.
I love
Shots.
comedy. It
Shots.
made me laugh. But from a place you need to be on a list to get into. Private Party is back. Shots, Shad. Dude, okay. I get the corniness of the Jericho thing can be frustrating. It made me actually excited when Private Party landed the shooting star press when they attacked him.
Ooh, my boy Quinn, man.
When they got into it.
Not Quinn. Yeah,
Isaiah
Mark Quinn
Cassidy.
No,
Well, Mark Quinn hit the shooting star.
She hit the shooting star press. Yeah.
He hit the shooting star. Yeah, it was literally like, because this is a team that early Dynamite 19 I saw and was like, I already like these guys. With the velvet rope, the gimmick, it was awesome. They got away from that for a long time, but I thought this was going to be a staple of the tag team division. Let's make them legit again. If we can get something good out of this learning tree, I really do hope it's Private Party here. This is my favorite segment thus far of the learning tree, not because of the learning tree, but because of Private Party. And I want to know, Shad, do you agree or no?
Clark, I agree with you. Actually. This was the most enjoyable learning tree section, and none of it was because of the learning tree. I think Jericho's fake voice is still what it is. Same jargon, same steps to it. Thought Brian Keefe was a little bit better towards it. I don't want to talk about them. I want to talk about Private Party, and from just the interaction of them kind of playing along and trolling, trying to get Jericho to get on the top ropes and then initially knocking him out. And, coming out strong at the end of the day. This is the first time I've seen Private Party look like actual stars and winners after all these years. I think they are an immensely talented unit. The athletic abilities, the theme song, the look, the comedy aspect. Like, these guys are very, very talented. I always say, selfishly, I wish I could get them on NXT because I feel like their humor, charisma, and all that could really flourish in something like that. But over here, in the beginning, they looked really strong and looked very promising. Got thrown into the Matt Hardy party stuff, was a dud. Then they got thrown with the Leo Rush stuff, and Leo Rush left. And then Quinn got hurt. So they've kind of had a weird roller coaster of events. But if this is an opportunity for them to, start getting them on the tracks and get this running, it'd be great because I think AEW needs tag teams, man. They need some tag teams that can be fresh and new. And let's not forget, then they beat the Bucks a little while ago,
They
right?
did. They did.
So you build them up, you get them back on a high note. They could possibly feud with the Bucks and go for the titles again. Like, it's all what you set it out to be and position them to be. What I don't want is them to get caught in the Jericho vortex, as the people call it, right? I don't want them to get thrown into a situation where they feud with Keith and Big Bill and lose in the snap of a finger. And that's my fear. That's the only thing. I'm not getting my hopes too high because I thought it was real. Like, it made me really happy last night to see them show out. And off of a segment purpose, I thought it was solid for that. I know a lot of people didn't like it. I liked it for that. But I'm very fearful that it's gonna go into the Jericho vortex and they're gonna end up getting squashed by Keith and Big Bill because they might look at those two guys as more of a reason to push, right? But man, I don't know what's happening with tag team wrestling on both promotions. I feel like tag team wrestling has like really dwindled off.
It's been like overlooked. It's amazing to me. Think about April of last year.
It's been borderline trash on both shows, to be honest with you.
14 months ago, think about it. Night one of Mania is one of the most electric tag matches of all time. The Usos and Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. Neither tag team exists in the current state of professional wrestling. It's kind of fascinating to think about.
You think it, like, to that point, like we had KO and Sammy have an iconic moment being champs.
Yes.
And then the following year we got two different champs that are very underwhelming. And then I
don't want to call it a flash in the pan, but it seems like every team that's lost the belts is split up.
It's the same in AEW. Like, they've hit the injury bug like crazy, but it's also like they're so overbooked with so many other stuff, and they kind of just forget about the tag team
to
division.
Your point, think about when it comes to AEW, you're talking about the Bucks, FTR, obviously, right? Proud and Powerful no longer exist. Rest in peace, Jay Briscoe. But the Briscoes, at one point, there was a potential move from ROH. Those tag matches aren't that long ago with the Briscoes and FTR. That dog collar match wasn't that long ago.
This is like a correlation that might make sense. I think what kind of ruined it for both sides is them trying to create like, that's a dope moment. The Sting and Darby stuff completely shot them guys in the
on top
foot.
of that, think about this one is even funkier too. Before that, Hangman and Kenny Omega. That run is iconic and everyone loves it, but it's really more a part of their arc in a singles rivalry over the world title.
Right.
And as soon as they broke up, that hurt the tag division as well.
Yeah, but even after that though, like, they've had like FTR when they went on that run, like, they were real that's like tag team wrestling was thriving in AEW. And it doesn't seem like it is as much now.
We are missing the best friends break. It's breakup season.
Yeah,
it feels like it's shout out How I Met Your Mother. It's breakup season, right? You got the best friends. You got, Jurassic Express has been broken up forever now.
Broken up.
Proud and Powerful. The amount
the Hardy
of
Boys are gone.
Hardy Boys are gone. Like the depth of this division at one point. Butcher and Blade. At one point felt actually.
No, they're not gone. I don't know what happened.
They're not gone. They're not broken up, but
they're probably on AWOL.
It just felt like that there were.
I mean, even your favorite wrestler, Kyle Fletcher, and his tag team partner.
I know, Mark Davis.
Davis,
he's gone.
Like, also, like, none of me trolling too. Like, they're a really good tag team.
They're great.
But it is what it is.
100%. Okay, let's talk about the main event last night, though.
Mhm.
Will Ospreay and Rey Phoenix. I love Rey Phoenix so much. I had a lot of fun with this match. It was what it was. Hidden Blade victory for Will Ospreay, and then post-match little swerve stare down. And one thing I did not like: why in the world is Bruv Goat, or whatever we call him these days, holding
Bro
that
spray.
world title? Yeah, the Bruvy Goat. I don't get it. It's all good, but I just want Swerve to maybe, I don't know, stomp him for sure. At least that's how I feel as a fan when it comes to this one. But Ospreay Swerve, take my money. I'm in any day of the week. You tell me the time and place, and I will be viewing it 100%. Anthony, I want to know what your thoughts were on the finish as far as Dynamite was concerned, and then the potential here of Ospreay and Swerve.
I mean, Ospreay versus Phoenix, it's a dream match without a story, which, that's one of the constant complaints that AEW gets. They'll just do dream matches without a story. I was okay with this as a whole because realistically, I don't anticipate ever getting a story of Ospreay versus Phoenix because I don't think AEW views Phoenix the same way they view Ospreay as somebody that could be the world champ. So I don't picture that happening. So this was just kind of a one-off. You knew Ospreay was going to pick up the win. Obviously, he's the only one in a story, and he's going for the world title. What I didn't like was the same thing that you didn't, Clark. That moment at the end where essentially Swerve is made to look like a chump, where Ospreay just has both belts and Swerve just looks at him and does nothing. And the little threat at the end of going, if we weren't friends, you let him do it. Like, that's been the problem, and I think it's going to be covered on a Take It to the Table if it hasn't already. Swerve as a whole, we've said this on the show before, they have not booked him as a credible world champion. They have not booked him. It's the same problem they had with Hangman, I think. It was about the chase, and then once he got the belt, it was kind of like, we don't know what to do with this.
Yep.
And that's kind of what I feel like with the Swerve, too, because it's like, you're looking at it and you're like, this is the first African American to be AEW world champion. That's a historic moment. Yeah, I kind of want Ospreay now. Like that's what I feel like. I feel like Tony Khan's looking at this going, I had the moment. I thought it was going to pop people. It really didn't. Now I want the high price guy. I want the Bruv. I want Bruv. He's going to be my world champ.
Yeah, those t-shirts are. Yeah, no, I think you're spot on.
I
Anthony.
mean, I don't mean that in any other way than the fact that like he's getting a disservice here because of how he's being booked.
As a Swerve fan, I agree because I'm bugged by it. And this guy should feel like the world's heavyweight champion.
Listen, Ospreay is a once-in-a-generation talent. I get you want to eventually make him world champion. I don't have an issue with that. I think he can be world champion. However, you don't do it and make Swerve feel like a transitional champion.
Yeah.
It should 100%. Be a big deal. It's a reason why, and I'm not saying you go on a 2-year run, but there's a reason why the Roman chase worked because it meant something when Cody beat him.
Yes.
Ospreay should chase Swerve. I'm not saying you go 2 years, but
give it some more time. It shouldn't just be.
It just started.
Yes.
Yeah, you know it's not I mean? Like just book them next week, right?
Yes.
Yes, I'm with you on that. 110%, Anthony. 100%. Or I guess 110. But either way, neither here nor there. Shad, gotta ask you about the same thing, though. Obviously, you and I both huge fans of Swerve Strickland and his work. But last night, man, that was a tough spot to end the show.
It's gonna sound like a broken record for me at the end of the day, where and we talk it extensively on the Take It episode that did drop today. So if y'all haven't watched it, after this, watch it. Where it seems like they're playing him like he is not as important, and the writing is on the wall for him. Yesterday they let him open the show, they let him close the show, but now it's a whole moment where you're making the competitor look way more important. The competitor had a marquee banger of a match, and then he follows it up with the whole segment. Swerve is basically looking like he is, feeling scared. Like, you don't lash out, talk like that unless you're fearful. You're you're voicing it more so like, oh, this guy's a threat. Like you're sitting there watching the whole match, you're looking at him as like a threat, and you're basically being loud and talking because you want to sell yourself that, oh, I'm the bigger, badder man. I'm gonna beat you. It doesn't come off as a confident champ. It comes off as a worried champ. And like y'all mentioned, he's a babyface. He's showing heel tendencies with Osprey.
Yeah.
Like it kind of reminds me that it may be a case where like maybe he loses and they go back to heel, like kind of how they did with Chad Gable after the whole Sammy situation. But he does feel like the writing is on the wall and he's gonna be a potential transitional champion. And it is annoying because we talked about it. It's the same thing with Kofi Kingston during the whole, the chase was iconic. You had one of the greatest Mania moments, and then you put him in a pretty underwhelming feud, and then you have Brock squash him. The I get it, right? You create the moment, but Swerve isn't giving you a reason to not want him to be champion for more time. I mean, he's over as hell with the crowd. He's an incredible professional wrestler, and he has the capability of telling stories. He even did a good story with Christian prior to it. I don't understand why Osprey can't just wait and get his opportunity later, right? I know he's the marquee name, but he's got a title. Osprey is the definition of a good TV champion. You want him to have these matches like he did last night. He doesn't need to have both belts or be the world champion. Like
Yes.
you run yourself into the service
They're
in that. And at
going
the end
to
of the day,
London, to your point too. They're going to London.
look,
Like,
man,
why not? Like that's after Forbidden Door.
They're-
Do this in London.
They're booking him.
no,
like,
I don't even want to do it in London, Clark. This is even the thing. That's even too soon for this dude to lose the belt.
Have him lose. No, have Swerve beat him in London.
They're booking
Well,
him.
I would
like,
love that.
That's what I'm saying.
They're booking him like Ultimate Bruv, the Ultimate Warrior. Like I think
Literally.
I honestly think Tony wants that image of him holding both belts. Whether or not that's a Forbidden Door, and I've said this before, the only reason I think they booked it now, as opposed to just waiting till All In, was because they're going to struggle selling pay-per-view and tickets to Forbidden Door.
Yeah, for
Okay,
sure. Without a
seriously,
doubt.
guys, we could talk about this for the rest
Yes.
of the day. I'm going to run through some comments really quick because we got
Mhm.
some great ones. David Modge, friend of the show, got his twos up already. Then he's got Swerve, Swerve, Swerve. And then I love this. He goes, I hope Osprey gets his match, but loses. And then he's doing the "We Deserve It" chants. So he's with us
Respect,
on
David.
that one.
Mhm.
Absolutely. Yeah, that is a crazy situation. And seriously, we will put pause on that one. I promise we will get back to that conversation. But this is a conversation we also promised for this Thursday. It's Throwback Thursday. This is one of my favorites in an iconic ECW One Night Stand, the second of two, and
Mhm.
one that also produced a television show.
Mhm.
Thank goodness we have a resident historian straight from Philadelphia. That's Anthony Ricciardi, our head of opinions, to break this whole situation down for us because we had a lot of funk here. We had WWE superstars wrestling in the Hammerstone Ballroom.
We had Terry
Mhm.
Funk
We
there, too.
had a crowd turning on some beloved characters for the very first time
Yep.
in a long, long time on national television, pay-per-view television, all of that. This is something I will never forget because I was young enough that I was a little confused at spots
Mhm.
with the mix and with the card and with the
Mhm.
booking.
Mhm.
But boy, is it memorable. No doubt about it. Anthony, break the whole thing down for us.
I mean, ECW's history in this business is a definition of a flash. And that's how quickly it went. But its impact on the industry is still felt today. That innovation, that style, is still alive. Paul Heyman talked about it in his Hall of Fame speech. The reason for ECW One Night Stand is WWE owned the tape library. They produced a DVD, The Rise and Fall of ECW. It sold more than they anticipated, and RVD was pushing for a reunion show. That ultimately happened in 2005, the true ECW One Night Stand. And they did it a second time. But this time, in 2006, this was part of a relaunch. ECW would come back under a WWE umbrella. And there was some anticipation because Paul Heyman was going to be in charge, and based on what happened at the previous One Night Stand, which felt like a true ECW show. 06, not as fondly remembered as 05. The two most iconic matches of that 06 one were Edge, Lita, and Mick Foley against Tommy Dreamer, Beulah McGillicuddy, and Terry Funk. The fun part with Terry Funk in this one is, unlike a lot of other ECW originals, Terry did not work the prior year because there was a competing ECW show done at the ECW arena by Shane Douglas, because Shane was pretty much blackballed by WWE. So he was doing his own hardcore homecoming, and Terry Funk said, I can only do one. I'm doing the ECW arena show. This year he did the match. It's iconic. It's brutal, and it's one of those iconic matches. But the main event saw RVD cash in his Money in the Bank briefcase against John Cena for the WWE Championship. And when Clark was talking about the crowd, it was pretty much that crowd was hostile. Cena did his trademark throwing the shirt into the crowd. They threw it back more than once. This crowd, they had a sign that said if Cena won, they were going to riot. RVD came out on top. And as part of the ECW relaunch, he had the WWE Championship, and Paul Heyman proceeded to hand RVD the one title that he never held in the original ECW, and that was the ECW World Championship. Ooh. So he had both titles. I'm not going to cover the whole revival, but that kind of sort of fell apart. RVD got in trouble with the law. The whole promotion kind of fell apart. The whole kind of run fell apart. Heyman was shown the door, and it really became WWE ECW. And, we saw a lot of negative stuff. We saw
the zombie.
The zombie Heyman was there, but we saw Vince anoint himself ECW World Champion. We saw Do-Rag Vince. Probably the ultimate low light of that.
December to dismember.
Yes, but we
did get Kelly though. Barbie Blank is killing it these days.
We got Kelly. There's a lot of young talent that got their start there. Kofi Kingston, for a perfect example. CM Punk was the face of that. Lashley got his big break. Myers and Cardona got their big break. Mark Henry really kind of started his rise to eventually lead to a World Heavyweight Championship. And lastly, I do want to mention they did change the design of the title, and a lot of people hated it, but I have a weird fondness.
Bobby added Evan Bourne.
Yes, Evan Bourne as well. Yeah, Matt Sydal, yes. And I do have a weird fondness for it because the title was different looking. When all the other belts were gold, this was silver. And what I loved about it, and I do have the mini.
Christian Cage.
Wait, hold on.
Go for it. Sorry. I'll put you back up.
Yeah. What I do love about it, and I don't know why, I've always loved that there's a Phoenix on there as ECW rose from the ashes. I always loved that connection to it. I know it's not as fondly remembered. And one little piece of trivia before I toss this to Shad. Tommy Dreamer is the only person to hold the ECW World Championship in both the original and the new one.
It's true.
And held both versions. He held the silver.
I can't lie to you though. I will say I'm a huge Tommy Dreamer fan. I don't think he should have ever held either.
I don't think he
wasn't necessary. Wasn't necessary. I love Tommy though. I mean, honestly, crazy card. We had Orton and Angle. On this card.
You had Taz and Jerry Lawler.
We had Taz and Jerry Lawler. We had Mysterio and Sabu. And in a weird spot. Mm-hmm. My two greatest memories, really quickly, before I toss this over to you, Shad, though, are JBL JBL just
Little promos.
once again showing up in the suites, running his mouth. I loved
saying some stuff that get him canceled at this point in the world time.
But Edge in that biker helmet. It's
Mhm.
that co-main was off the charts. Don't get me
Mhm.
wrong. The Beulah appearance was great, and the intergendered triple threat once in a lifetime we'll never see again on WWE TV ever in our
Mhm.
lives was all time. But man, that biker helmet reveal when he spears Cena is just iconic. Shad,
Mhm.
your memories of 06 One Night Stand.
Yeah, I mean, I remember watching it. I was like probably 13 years old at the time, and it being different. Obviously, as a kid, I remember the early phases of ECW, and just everything that was different about it, with the the more hardcore element being a lot more um different than what I usually watch with WCW and WWF, WWE at the time, and then bringing it back into life. It was cool to see. Like I obviously I didn't like the WWE version of ECW more than I did the original ECW. I think Vince basically kind of bought it to throw it in the dirt to kind of just have his little victory lap. But it is what it is. You already spoke about the positives of it. The show itself, the second one, was very entertaining. I enjoyed it in totality. I thought there was a lot of great matches on it. Angle and Orton, Angle joining Team ECW like he did and going against Orton. Orton kind of walking in there, the young Randy, and them having a solid bout. Kurt getting the victory. Sabu and Ray, that was a fun match. Crazy match. Weird finish with the no contest. I won't lie, but it was entertaining. And the 6-person match, just the chaos of the Dreamer
Oh.
driver on Lita, followed by Edge hitting the spear on Beulah and having the rated R pin. I will just call it that.
Yep.
But I mean the show stealer was definitely RVD and Cena. Cena walking in to Hammerstein as just the ultimate bad guy, but he's not a bad guy, right? And it feels so reminiscent of the Dallas Cowboys coming into the link and the Eagles fans just booing them to oblivion. Like it really felt like a home atmosphere, and that's the beauty of it. Like you don't see that a lot in wrestling. Like
100%.
I'm hoping we see that this weekend with Drew. But I mean
Yes.
everything to it,
Yeah.
and like you point, like him coming back from the match with the biker helmet, hitting the spear, and then Heyman coming in and counting 1, 2, 3. It was so dope, man. It was so dope in seeing RVD
One,
get that moment.
I think about being a Chicago dude, and it's like even recently, right? I think Cubs Cardinals,
Mhm.
Uh-huh.
right?
Yeah.
Wilson Contreras is a hero in Chicago for 2016, right? At
For
catcher,
sure.
we love him. We love him as Cub fans. If he hits a homer into the bleachers at Wrigley Field, that ball's getting thrown back just like that
Yeah.
Cena T-shirt every single time.
One last thing, and I will say this: with the Money in the Bank, I wish that we could have a superstar do what like RVD did, where he's cashing it for a specific match, specific pay-per-view. Like if say a Gunther won it and at the Berlin pay-per-view is gonna happen.
Yes.
I want to have it there. Like that'd be
only
cool,
because we're up against time really quick. I completely agree. I love the suggestion.
Yeah,
And
technically they
not
can,
only
yeah.
that, I think the key to RVD's cash in the way that he did it was he still gave himself home field advantage.
Exactly.
And that's a booking related thing, like you said, with the Berlin and stuff. But that seriously does bring us to the end of the show. Like we are the most up against time possible. If you haven't liked or subscribed, please do. I'm Clark. That's Shad. That's Anthony. We love y'all. Check out Wrestling Republic, all of our stuff. We will be back same time, not so much 3 hours beforehand tomorrow, noon Pacific. That's 3 in the East. That's 8 in the UK. That's of course 9 a.m. in Hawaii. Thank you so much for the support, and we'll talk to everybody soon. Have an excellent Thursday night, and we'll see you this weekend for some speaking of pay-per-views, some Clash at a certain castle.